Good evening, good evening, good evening. Hello and welcome to my Facebook Live video for Friday. It is May 12th, and this is, let's see, the 12th day I've done a live video. How cool is that, right? This is OI Awareness Week also. So that's awesome. Osteogenesis Imperfecta, that is brittle bones. That's the bone disorder that I have for those of you who are just joining and who may have not seen any of my videos before. That's so you know what's going on. Now, yesterday's video I talked about ways to eat better and things to look at for food journaling and also for tracking your food so that you can start to eat healthier. And through the course of eating healthier, what that does is it gives you the energy to start exercising and to start moving and to start doing things that are good for you physically. So tonight I figured I would talk about a little bit about what I like to call proper fitness, and I talk about it in the book right here. And so I just wanted to cover the 4 points of proper fitness and just talk a little bit about why they're important and why they're important for me and kind of what I went through with them as well. So really quickly, the section is called Proper Fitness. It's right there. It's on page 187 of the book. Hello and welcome to everybody. If you would please just share this right now to your feed. If you're on mobile, click that little share button that's on the bottom left-hand corner. If you're on desktop, I think the share is down at the bottom on the right-hand side. Either way, please share so we can get more viewers. So let's talk about proper fitness and how to get moving. Now, this is a big deal because, like, when I started, before I started, I had, attempted to do things throughout my life. Thanks for the likes. What's up, Michael? Thank you for joining. Throughout my life, with my disability, with osteogenesis imperfecta, there were times in my life where I did try to work out, where I did try to exercise, and to no avail. It didn't work. I was doing things improperly. I was not being instructed correctly, and I was pushing myself in ways that I shouldn't have been pushing myself. And honestly, I kept getting injured. And I never really stayed consistent. I'd work out for a couple days and I talk about getting sick in the book, and that's a big deal too, about mindset, about getting sick. And that stopped me from getting healthier. So I kind of touched on exercising throughout my life, but my 20s and 30s were really big for not doing any physical activity. And what I learned was, going through the process of my transformation a few years ago, what I learned is there's a proper way to do it. There's a proper way to do it so that you can actually have some good results, especially if you have a disability, especially if you have something that's holding you back. Like for me, it was straight up a mental game as well as a physical game, right? And an emotional game and a spiritual game. I mean, it was really all 4 components. But, a lot of people, when they want to start living a healthy life, they think it's just a physical game. And they kind of start to realize it's a mental game, but they don't know how to deal with the mental stuff to really achieve the goals that they want physically. So that's what I learned through my process. And, what's up with the sad face? What's up with the sad face? Was that, who gave me a sad face? Comment and let me know what you're sad about, and I'll help you with that. But, so really, getting into the mental game and understanding that, I needed to put together like proper fitness for myself was important. And so I like to talk about it in the book. And really quickly, I'm gonna just read a little bit from the book and just kind of touch on it a little bit and kind of talk about it. So the first thing, let's see. Now, proper fitness, the definition of proper fitness, of what I like to call proper fitness, it's very simple. It's knowing your body and working intelligently to progress past your limits and reach optimal function. Super simple, right? I mean, you would think it's super simple, but a lot of people don't do this. A lot of people just kind of go hardcore and don't think about doing it properly, intelligently progressing, right? It's a progression. When we start, we got to start, and then we're progressing to get better. It's not just you're immediately healthy, you're immediately strong, you're immediately mobile. That is not possible. You need to start and then progress intelligently towards a goal. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about proper fitness. Now, there's 4 points that I've outlined in the book, and the first point is to assess your abilities. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is assess your abilities. And again, depending on your, I'm going to read a little bit. Again, depending on your current situation, assessing your true abilities may take working with a personal trainer or a physical therapist. But this doesn't mean you cannot start on your own. That means that you can still start on your own. Guys, you don't need a personal trainer. You don't need a physical therapist. You can start on your own. Now, you want to start with simple movements without weights. If you've never worked out, if you have osteogenesis imperfecta and you've broken your bones multiple times, I don't want you to lift any weights, all right, when you're starting. I want you to just start moving your body. So I'm not going to really go into this because I really go into detail of like things to do to start moving and assessing your abilities. But really assessing your abilities is just starting to move and see what you can do. Okay, so if you have limited mobility, if you've never worked out, if you have OI and say you have deformities in your bones because of things breaking and stuff, like for me, the big one was in my hips. My hips are not perfect because I have osteopenia and I have, my femur, the hip joint is like rubbing inside on my pelvic bone. So it's touching. And so I don't have range of motion with my hips. I can't put my hips out like abduction, I mean, like where I put my legs out to the sides. So this was a big one for me because I had to know and assess my true abilities of what I could do, because you see exercises, you see people doing exercises where they're like kicking their legs out to the sides and it looks easy and it looks awesome, but I can't do that. So I had to assess my own abilities and see what I could do, right? So that takes me to the second point, which is adapt as needed. Adapt as needed. Okay? So, again, I say in the book, this is where a professional's assistance will come in handy. But again, that shouldn't stop you from starting and doing what you can to get moving. So again, look, I'm a personal trainer. I'm a certified personal trainer at that, and I can help people, right? But I don't think you necessarily look. You do need me, right? When it gets to a certain point, but you don't need me to start. Okay, you can actually start on your own right now. So adapting a movement or exercise will help you to still do the movement, but with some modifications so that you can do the movement in a way that is proper for you. So that's huge, guys, because if you think of just like simple shoulder presses, right? Now, depending on how your shoulder is, you may not be able to do a shoulder press all the way up. You may have limited mobility in your shoulder, right? So you have to assess your ability. What can you do? How far can you lift your shoulder up? Can you lift it forwards? Can you lift it sideways? And you need to adapt a movement for you and your abilities, right? So that's where I want you to start. That's point number 2 of proper fitness, okay? Point number 3 is to focus on the movement. Now, when performing any movement in an exercise, it's important to put all of your focus on the one movement that you are performing. This means focusing on the muscle that you are working as well as the supporting system of the muscles. Okay, so this is point number 3, focus on the movement. Just a quick recap, assessing your abilities. What can you do at the present time? Number 2, adapting as needed, adapting any move to be proper for you and your movement. And then point number 3, focusing on the movement. Now this is important because a lot of people will just start doing moves, start doing exercise moves, and they just start kind of going wild, and they're doing bench presses and they're doing curls, and they're just trying to do anything because you haven't done it before, right? So this is important because you want to focus on the movement so that you can start to train your brain to coincide with the muscle. So like even on an arm curl, right? Let me do this so you can see. Like on an arm curl, maybe this arm's better. Like you want to focus on the movement of bringing your arm up and focusing here, right? And what happens is when you're supporting everything and you're keeping your arm tight, I should do this in a different video where it's like you can see better. But what you're doing when you're focusing on the movement is you're focusing on the muscle that's being worked. So with a simple bench shoulder press, like this sort of movement, right? Focusing on the shoulder and like just taking your time and just starting to see like what kind of movement you can do, how it feels in your muscle, how it feels in all of the supporting muscles in and around your shoulders. So that's the point of that's the point of point number 3 is focus on the movement. And you want to, in the book, it's great because I talk about pulling and embracing. Those are two things. I'll post videos about that, or I'll do separate videos on that. But it's about like tightening your core, bracing, and like doing the movement so you're keeping everything tight when you're doing any sort of movement, whether it's with your arms or your legs. You want to keep everything else really tight and focused, and really focusing on the muscle that you're working. So that's point number 3 from the 4 points of fitness, 4 points of proper fitness. So point number 4, and this is the big one. Ready for this? Point number 4 is push past what's possible. Push past what's possible. Now, this point is definitely more of a mental exercise than a physical exercise, but it also has to do with the physical act of movement. Okay, so it's really about making your mind and muscle connection. And it really is about pushing past what you think is possible. For me, personally, I mean, that was huge. Look, for anybody that's watching, if you have OI, you understand what I'm saying as far as having brittle bones. If you have another sort of physical disability where you feel you can't do something, right? There's a point where you're going to have to push past what you think is possible so that you can actually achieve progress. And, that's really part of the mental game as well as the physical game. But you have to understand, even if you're doing arm curls with a certain amount of weight, at some point you're going to have to give yourself more weight to lift because you want to progress. You want to get stronger. You want to do something that you haven't done before. For me, it was huge getting past a ton of barriers. Physically, I had to push past the idea that, just simple squats. Simply squatting down. I never thought that my legs would get so strong that I would be able to do like full body squats. But I actually, oh look at that! I hit my 7,000 steps. How cool! And I'm not even walking right now. Anyway, so just doing simple body squats. But when I realized that those body squats were making my legs strong enough to let me jump off of the ground, that's when things started to blow my mind. And that's where I realized I had to realize that mentally I had to break past that. What's up, Phil? What's up, Phil? I see you. And Gloria, hello, Gloria. Thank you for joining and watching. Thank you, everybody, for watching. So I had to mentally get past those points, and I had to push past what I think is possible. I had to realize that I didn't know exactly what I was capable of. And I don't care what disability you have. I don't care what limited mobility you may have. There is something that you can do to get moving. Okay, so the excuse of, well, I can't move because that doesn't fly anymore, because there is absolutely something that we can do. I'm not perfect. I don't do every exercise perfectly. Like a lunge, right? A simple lunge that maybe a normal, quote unquote, normal person can do, someone that doesn't have a disability, they can lunge perfectly fine. I can't do a perfect lunge, but guess what? I can do the movement of a lunge in a modified fashion, right? So I assess my ability. What can I do as far as like putting my foot out and lunging down, and then I modify as needed. Maybe I have to hold on to something. Maybe I just do kind of like a partial lunge, right? But the bottom line is I can do it. And that's where I had to push past my own thoughts of what was possible. So I challenge you guys to push past what is possible. So that's it. Those are the 4 points of proper fitness, okay? Number 1 is assessing your abilities. Really just start to move your body around and see what you're capable of doing. Range of motion is a big part of that. Number 2 is adapt as needed. Start to pick exercises and adapt them as needed for you. Number 3, focus on the movement. When you're doing any exercise, focus on the one movement that you're doing and pay attention and make sure everything else in the body is tight and firm, and you're paying attention to that one movement that you're doing. And then point number 4 is push past what's possible. So that's the 4 points to proper fitness. And again, I outlined it in the book. There's a lot more to it as far as some examples and whatnot. And then I go on in this chapter to talk about some other things to think about as you get into fitness, exercise, and movement. So I talk about progression and regression. What if you have pain? I talk about stretching. I talk about getting rest. I talk about the connection between food and exercise. I talk about not worrying about how you look. And then I talk about some different types of training. So I hope this was helpful. What's up, Jeff? Hey, Jeff, how are you? Thank you for joining. I hope this was helpful for everybody. Please share it. Please share this video onto your Facebook feed, because I guarantee if you don't find value in this, somebody that you know will find value in this. And I appreciate you guys watching. Please give me those likes and those thumbs ups and those hearts. And please comment with any questions or comments that you have about anything that I've talked about, because I love the engagement, and I love the engagement because it just helps to get this in front of more people, which is awesome, right? And with that, also I wanted to let you know before I go, this month, the whole month of May, when you buy my book, you are helping to support an unbreakable spirit. Now, an unbreakable spirit is someone who has osteogenesis imperfecta just like me. Now, it's not only supporting me and helping me as far as my book sales, but a portion of the proceeds for this entire month, when you buy a book, I'm going to donate it to a few various organizations that I'm linked up with that help people with osteogenesis imperfecta. Now, this is not only for the kids that have OI, because a lot of stuff is being done with research and seeing how we can best take care of the kids that are growing up with OI, but it's also for the adults that have OI, that are my age or older, and that need help with clinical care as we get older. So portion of the proceeds from sales all this month of May is going to go to help people with OI. It's going to help to support an unbreakable spirit. So please consider purchasing the book if you haven't yet. I'll go ahead and put the link in the comments or in the description after I'm done here. And I really do appreciate everybody, tuning in and checking it out. Ruth, how are you? Tony, thanks for sharing an outline on the content of the book. You're awesome. Oh, you're awesome. You're awesome. Thank you so much for your kind words. I really do appreciate it. And there's a lot in the book. It's not only my story, but it really is tips, tricks, ideas, concepts that I've come up with to live a healthy and happy life. So I really hope you guys will pick up a copy and support an unbreakable spirit. All right. So we will see you tomorrow. Have a great Friday night, and don't get into too much trouble. All right. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.